Welcome to M Squared TechCast.
And we're back with the final segment on M Squared TechCast, MITech TV now. And this whole show has been devoted to that hot new business that just started, well, the recreational side anyway, on Sunday, December 1st, where we folks in Ann Arbor, I was going to drive down there just to look at the lines, but I didn't have to because I saw all the coverage. They were very long lines.
Like a waiting for Santa Claus at the shopping mall. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like that Christmas story thing where they're all waiting, right? So,
well, it shows the level of excitement the state has about the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
That's our subject today.
And we have with us on the show today, we have Kevin MacRitchie, who is with Helios Security. He's the Chief Executive Officer. And so let's talk a little bit about what you guys do.
Sure. Thanks for having us on the show. First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Helios is first and foremost a security company. My co-founder and I, when we started to see the cannabis industry continue to grow, we both come from a law enforcement and military background. Said as that's going to grow, we need to be able to secure Michigan citizens as this grows. We all know that the industry has a bias one way or another in the background from the years, as we look back, maybe in the 60s and 70s. And so if the market's going to grow and the opportunity is going to be there, we felt we needed to put an organization together of security professionals in conjunction with other security professionals and security companies that are out there doing a great job. But that takes a different perspective from those that are viewing it just as a transport perspective. And a lot of the Michigan security comes from the law that we have around security transport, secure transport. And many are not viewing the security position as a whole, and we felt that that was very important. Hence, we put Helios together to focus on security in three major areas. One is static security, so whether it's physical or individuals or buildings. Two, mobile security, so what we would think of in secure transport in the business, but anything that moves for that matter. And then last, in the cyberspace. And so not just cybersecurity as we would think of it as encryption and all those kinds of things that you might do in the cloud, but things like video surveillance and video monitoring for our customers as well. So we look at it in those three major buckets, not just for the cannabis industry, but for others as well. However, our principal focus most certainly is the cannabis industry.
Yeah, we had Rudy Petros on the show, and that's all he does is just the video kinds of stuff. He doesn't do the physical stuff or the transport, but, because I guess the rules are you can't have any non-covered video spaces. Every space in the place has to be covered with video, right?
That is correct. All your entrances, all your windows, and about every 20 feet, just keep it simple. You need to have a camera to monitor all the physical space.
And Kevin, is that true of all licensed MMFLA facilities? There are 5 different types of facilities. They all have a similar security requirement?
We even have that requirement in our facility as a transport or secure transport or security company because we're doing business in the cannabis space like any secure transporter or the other licensees as well. We all have the same requirement.
Now, did monitoring the handlers, is that keeping the bad guys out? Is that both? It seems like that's a pretty heavy kind of requirement.
Well, you want to be able to go back and look at what's happening. You also want to be able to leverage the intelligence that can be built in those camera systems as well, right?
Uh-huh.
If you have 1,000 cameras that you're monitoring for multiple customers, you can't have 1,000 people or even 500 or 200 people that are monitoring. That doesn't scale.
Right.
So if we start thinking about the intelligence that can be put in those monitoring systems and monitoring tools, where the cameras provide us our own alerts to help direct our monitoring staff or operations staff so that they're not trying to watch all of that at one moment. And then the ability to look at those in a secure mode, maybe from remote. If we see an alarm, our operations center would see an alarm, we would want to be able to see that as the executive staff as well, what that was, how do we dispatch someone, what's going to happen, who we're going to dispatch, is it someone from ourselves, local law enforcement, that sort of thing.
Well, with my history of retail management, I can tell you that most of the security that's done internally is to protect the company against diversion by employees. And I know that was critical when they developed the whole concept of secure transport and security within the centers, that they not allow diversion. Are you finding that that's a real concern of your client base, that perhaps things aren't going as well as they should behind closed doors?
I don't know that anyone is saying that they're concerned yet because it's still all new to the industry. But we know in any security business that 80 to 90% of the theft or the diversion that we see is coming from an insider. Mm-hmm. And so you want to be able to look at that. I have a friend that owns a bar out in Chicago. He never goes there. But everything is monitored, and he has a staff that runs
Especially several cameras on the cash box, right?
and there's several cameras on the cash box in every table. And he calls me up and tells me and says, "Look at this. Tell me, do you think?" And the answer will be yes, right? They'll know that somebody's pocketing money for a drink. Same thing in the business there, in inside of a grow or inside of somewhere else. We want to make sure nobody's pocketing things away, right? But that's a fraction of our business. We provide that as an augmented service, as a part of our transport capabilities, and as a part of our security guards as well.
Well, my main job is where we cover a lot of technology and cybersecurity. It's always 80% of the issues are internal. It's not the external people getting in. It's the internal people for a variety of reasons, whether they're stupid or they're thieves or whatever, that are actually doing all the damage.
Right, and I think the other thing is when you look at what Lara and any other organization puts in, putting in just the minimum is not always the best approach, right? We take a look at, should you have night vision cameras or thermal cameras, those kinds of things, so you have an awareness of what's coming in what direction. In windows where things are going to happen at night when nobody's around, what kind of image did you get? Oh, it's all black. We have regular daytime cameras out there. I mean, we see a lot of those kinds of things that go into play that are just simple. So we're happy to come out and take a look at what you're doing, make some recommendations on how to improve that, and we also will leverage those as a part of our secure transport pickup and delivery. So our operations center will look into our customers' cameras as well as the cameras on our vehicles before anybody enters or exits the vehicles, and make sure we have a safe playing field as we get started and somebody steps out of the vehicle.
Make sure there's no one hiding, laying in wait in order to ambush,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, eventually that's what's, it's going to turn into the kind of the Wild West out there once this industry gets really big and everybody sees how much cash is, out there, product is out there.
Well, we hope it doesn't, right? So the idea of security is to be as much preventative and certainly do the right things when you have to react.
Right.
But as much as we can do in a preventative mode, if we see 8 people lying around with armament on them, right, we maybe aren't going to open the doors. And we aren't
probably
going to
leave that door shut,
somewhere
right?
else. Right? If you're not looking for those kinds of things and you're not trained to know what those what you're looking for, right, those things are important. And again, there's several very good organizations and security companies that are out there, but since the vast majority have come from transportation first and security is not their primary background, we felt it was an opportunity to bring one more company to the table that would bring that value. All of our drivers and all of our officers come from either law enforcement, military, fire, EMS or EMT, or corrections.
So you have how many folks working for you now?
We have about 15 to 20 working for us right now. We've actually laid our company out in parallel to our customers. Most of our customer transports, because we're focused on the large Class Cs, most of them aren't doing much of their shipments until between February and October, let's say, of next year. And so we've laid out organization from our licensing to our facility, which is in Burton, to our acquisition of incremental vehicles, those kinds of things, to lay out when our customers need to start shipping and when they need to start having monitoring, when they need to start having physical presence of our security guards.
Yeah.
I've had 3 security companies come to us, ask us to buy out their assets because they've had vehicles for 2 years and a building for a year and a half. And they haven't delivered anything because the growers that they are going after aren't planning deliveries until July or August of next year. So they'll be 2.5 years into capital investments.
That's a long time to carry that. Yeah,
nothing, right?
that one hurts.
It's a long road to profitability. When you mention Class C, for those of our listeners that may not be familiar with it, a Class C license allows you to grow up to 1,500 cannabis plants, and you can stack Class C licenses so that you can grow 3,000, 4,500, 6,000, 75, 9,000 or more cannabis plants under a single roof. That could make for a very large transport. Do you do large type things, or are you primarily just a mid-range type transporter?
Our main focus is the larger multiple Class Cs, so 8, 10, 12, 20 Class Cs. That makes up the bulk of our customers.
So like a big semi kind of truck thing, or what do you...
While Lara has been non-specific, as we've heard earlier in the segment, they aren't thrilled about anybody putting that product in a trailer. So we like to see it in a single entity enclosed vehicle. So
better control, right?
What we do is we tell our customers we'll make the decision on how many vehicles, and what we'll do is optimize for their insurance, our insurance, just general liability. Nobody wants $20 million of product in one vehicle. Right?
So you need the Weedabago. Is what you need. The Winnebago for weed, right? The Weedabago.
The Weedabago. I like that. Yeah,
That's an interesting thought.
All right.
which is different than if you're hauling hemp around.
Right.
So that's a much bigger product, more quantity, larger space, and so we have the capabilities with some of our semi trucks to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Intriguing.
So I assume you're going to be hiring folks here in 2020?
We are. We've got a list of about 60 right now that are consigned and ready to go
Mm-hmm.
as we ramp up with our growers and our processors. And so as those individuals come on, we're ready to bring them into that fold. Some of them are active duty law enforcement that are permitted to work after hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like myself, I'm active law enforcement as well.
Okay.
And so we're allowed to do some of that on our off time. I'm a part-time, so I can do as much as I want on my schedule.
Sure.
On call 24 hours a day, but
And are you guys self-financed, or do you have backers, or how are you pulling this off?
we have been self-financed out of our executive team. The nice part about our executive team, they come from the IT industry,
Mm-hmm.
business industry, and finance. 3 of them are in the executive MBA program at Michigan right now. One of them actually leads that effort. So it's been great. Our head of our human resource and resource development,
Mm-hmm.
she's actually the chief counselor there.
Yeah.
And so we've got a nice diverse background there. Many of them come out of companies like Cisco Systems and others. So we have that sort of high-tech background as well. Our gentleman that runs all our security guards comes out of the U.S. Marshal Service, both Air Marshal and K-9 Handler as well, and has had hundreds of individuals working for him in a similar capacity.
It's got to be an interesting experience for a law enforcement person to be now working in the legal cannabis industry. There's this dichotomy that's been there so very long, right?
Yeah, well, one of the hardest things, right, is if you are arresting individuals in that environment in the past, and now all of a sudden it's okay.
They're your partners, customers, or whatever.
They're now your customers, right? But laws change, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol was prohibited at one point.
Yeah,
and
that's
there's
true.
regulations around that, and a number of things have changed, so we have to be able to change with that.
Okay, how we doing on time, Dave?
Now,
2 minutes to go.
A lot of people don't know Burton is just right next to Flint. Do you have plans to expand out of the Genesee County area?
We do. We do cover the entire state, including the UP. We do have a plan for facilities in 6 areas of the main part of the state and 1 in the Upper Peninsula as well. So if we have longer hauls, longer distribution, and we actually will make those available to our security partners / competitors, if you will, as well, if they need to house vehicles overnight.
Gosh, if you had anything in the room, they could talk to you about that, so...
Yeah, we might do that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. This has been a great conversation. Where do you see secure transport going in 2020, 2021? What's the future of your industry?
So I think, especially in Michigan, right, we see the industry growing, and it'll grow as the industry itself grows, recreational and medical, because it has to be transported, and that's a legal requirement to use transporters here. We've also had other states approach us about how to do it right, based on what we've seen be successful and maybe some of the complications that Michigan has had in putting this law in place, and the sort of loss of product that has occurred between grower and ultimate dispensary in other states.
Right.
And so I jokingly say that the transporters have sort of become the police for the police, because what goes on the truck has to come off the truck at the other end, right? And so I think you'll see a significant growth in this space, but the ability with Michigan pioneering this, for all of us in this space, to be able to help others. In fact, we're going to be speaking with some of the other security organizations and secure transport companies at an event you have coming up, Rick.
That's right.
That our goal is to put a secure transport council together among those of us and set the gloves aside.
Nice.
And
That's
come to the
it.
room together and say, hey, what's working, what's
Co-opetition,
not.
right?
Yeah.
There you go.
But also help the governing bodies understand what works and not work, where those loopholes are, and maybe build some sets of standards that we think are important. And so we're looking to partner with those we think excel on the security side of that, maybe not so much.
So no Amazon-style drones coming anytime new for secure transport?
My
Dropping
CTO
bundles
wants a
of
drone.
weed.
He wants a drone on every vehicle. I told him not at this time, since we can't fly them in there.
People be shooting them down, right?
Yeah, well, that's possible.
That might have been my motivation for asking that.
Certainly. Yeah. Not good in any municipality. Since every municipality in the state says you cannot fly.
About a minute left, so here's your opportunity one more time to tell people how to get more information, how to reach out to you.
Well, again, thanks for having us here. You can reach out to Helios at helios-srm, which is security and risk management, helios-srm.com. Anytime, all our contact information there. You can reach the sales team. Our phone number, everything is listed there. That's our sort of one-stop shopping area.
Excellent.
Kevin MacRitchie, well, thanks very much for being with us.